What is up, guys? Grand Slam Ham here, and today I thought it'd be fun to do a MLB trade predictions video. The MLB trade deadline is coming up very quickly. It's on July 30th, so we're about a week away, and I'm excited to see who is moved and who is not. So today I'll be giving you my predictions about which teams are going to be buyers, which ones will be sellers, and what are some of the big names that are going to be moved this trade deadline. So the first player we're going to be talking about today is Garrett Crochet of the Chicago White Sox. Garrett Crochet is having himself a spectacular season. He has put up a 4.1 WAR up until this point. He's pitching to a 3.02 ERA with a 0.950 WHIP. He has, however, pitched the most innings of his career. Remember, Garrett Crochet, this is his first year as a full-time starter, so he is on an innings limitation, which will be affecting those who are willing to pay for him. I believe that the Chicago White Sox will not be trading Garrett Crochet. Too many teams are going to think the price is too steep for a pitcher that most likely will have to be moved to the bullpen towards the end of this season. However, he is under control, so next year you'd have a full-time front-of-the-line rotation starter. However, I think the White Sox are going to ask for too much. With that being said, it wouldn't be a fun video if I said no one. So if he is traded, even though I do not believe he will be, if he is traded, I believe the Houston Astros will be trading for Garrett Crochet. The Astros currently have the 16th worst team ERA in all of baseball and the 20th worst WHIP. A player like Garrett Crochet would solidify that rotation. They just took over their division, so they are now first in the AL West. So I think going after someone like Garrett Crochet could be a big boost for a team that wants to contend. The next player we're going to be looking at today is an ace. He will be an ace that you'll have control over until 2027. So the price is going to be incredibly steep. And that player is Tarik Skubal. Tarik Skubal is having a spectacular season in the running for the Cy Young in the American League. He is pitching to a 2.41 ERA with a 0.879 WHIP. He is spectacular. He is striking out batters at a high clip. He is an ace, and because of that, I do not think the Detroit Tigers are going to trade Tarik Skubal because he is just too valuable. I think they believe they can be competitive in the next few years, and that fits the timeline. They will control him. But if there were any teams that are willing to pay the price, my prediction is that the Los Angeles Dodgers will trade for Tarik Skubal. They are willing to pay that price. They want to add to that rotation that has been plagued by injury. And they love getting people who they will have for long term that they believe they can extend. A rotation of Ohtani, Glasnow, Skubal, and Yamamoto is something I myself would be scared of. I don't think Tarik Skubal will be traded, but if he is, he's going to the Dodgers. I have now given you two players I don't think are going to get traded, so it's time I give you a player who I do believe is going to be traded. The next person on our list is Luis Robert Jr. of the Chicago White Sox. I think the White Sox are going to be big sellers at this deadline, and I think he's going to be one of the bigger names they move, since I don't think they're going to be moving on from Garrett Crochet. Luis Robert is having a under-the-radar good season. He has put up a 1.4 WAR because his defense is not there. However, his bat has been solid. He's putting up a .804 OPS, which is good for a 124 OPS plus, meaning he's better than about 24% of the league. Luis Robert is a great addition to any outfield. It is my belief that Luis Robert is going to be traded to the Philadelphia Phillies. Their outfield currently ranks 21st in all of baseball in center field. They have a solid left and right, but they need someone down the middle. Although his defense is not spectacular, his bat is what they're looking for in Philly. I think he makes that lineup even more dangerous and even scarier than it already is. And I think the Phillies are dead set on making it to the World Series this year. They're my prediction to win the World Series. And because of that, I think they're going to add at this deadline. The White Sox will be trading Luis Robert Jr. to the Philadelphia Phillies. The next player we're talking about today is coming down from up north. We're going to be talking about Bo Bichette of the Toronto Blue Jays. Bo Bichette is having a very down year. He's putting up a negative WAR season with a 596 OPS, which is good for a OPS plus of 70, which theoretically means he is worse than 30% of the bats in the league. However, historically, he's hitting a 798 OPS, which is good for a 119 OPS plus. I think the league knows how good Bo Bichette really is, and I think that if he moves to a new location, a change of scenery might bring back that old Bo we all know. And so because of that, I do think teams are willing to trade for a player who is having an off season. They might have to pay a little less, which is also intriguing. I believe the Toronto Blue Jays will be sending Bo Bichette to the Atlanta Braves. Orlando Arcia is not the guy at short for them. They have a dangerous lineup, but he is a blind spot right now. I believe that if they bring in Bo, they get that energy that they had with Dansby Swanson, they can be very dangerous. They're right now the number one wild card seed, but I believe they want to maintain that. They're not going to stay in that position if they don't add, because some of those NL teams are very dangerous. So I believe the Blue Jays are going to be trading Bo Bichette to the Atlanta Braves. Next, we're going to talk about a pitcher. We're going to talk about Zach Eflin. Zach Eflin is having a pretty solid season. Last year, he had a lower ERA. Right now, he's pitching to a 3.99 ERA with a 1.117 whip. His career numbers are not spectacular, but they are a solid 4-5 in your rotation. And a team that I believe that needs to solidify the rotation because of injury is the Arizona Diamondbacks. Currently, their pitching is ranked the worst in all of baseball. If you're looking at WAR, Jordan Montgomery and Eduardo Rodriguez were not what they needed to be this season. Jordan Montgomery is facing injury as well as just not performing, and Eduardo Rodriguez will be missing the majority of the season, if not all of it. So because of that, the Arizona Diamondbacks, who are only a game out of the NL wild card, I'm going to be looking for something to add to that rotation, and Zach Eflin is a guy that they could use in that 4-5 spot to solidify the rotation. Okay, next we are going to talk about another pitcher, but this time we're going to move to the bullpen, and we are going to talk about the possible AL Rookie of the Year in Mason Miller. Mason Miller is having a spectacular season, putting up a 2.27 ERA to a 0.857 whip. He is doing spectacular things. And the price on Mason Miller is going to be steep because a lot of GMs and executives believe that Mason Miller can be easily transitioned to a starter next year and put up immense value with the amount of control he has. Because of this, I do not believe the Athletics are going to be trading Mason Miller. I think he is just too valuable. I believe that they think that next year when he becomes a starter, more teams will be willing to pay even more for him. And the asking price right now is very steep. If there is a GM in baseball, though, who is willing to make that move and pay the price the Athletics are asking for, it is my man, AJ Preller. It is my belief that if Mason Miller is traded, the Athletics will trade Mason Miller to the San Diego Padres. The San Diego lineup is solid. They're hitting well. Their closing pitcher is lights out in Robert Suarez. However, their rotation is in dire need of help. It's ranked one of the worst in all of baseball at the moment. And so Mason Miller will serve as that 7-8 guy for Robert Suarez and really solidify and improve the Padres rotation. It's my prediction that Mason Miller is not traded, but if he is, he's going to the San Diego Padres. Okay, next we're going to talk about another starting pitcher in Nathan Eovaldi. Nathan Eovaldi is having a spectacular season, putting up a 2.97 ERA with a 1.043 whip. He's struck out 92 batters so far this season. If you trade for him, you're going to get a pitcher who has shown time and time again that they can pitch incredibly well in the postseason. It really depends on where the Rangers are in this next coming week. Most people believe that if they do well this next week, they'll be buyers, and if they do poorly, they will be sellers. I'm hoping they're sellers because they have some fun players that could be traded at this deadline. If the Rangers struggle this next week and become sellers, I believe that the Rangers will be trading Nathan Eovaldi to the Minnesota Twins. The Twins are currently in an AL wildcard position. They struggle in the postseason, however. And a player like Nathan Eovaldi would support that rotation, which is being held down by Joe Ryan right now. But players like Chris Paddock and Pablo Lopez are struggling significantly this season. So bringing in a veteran presence and a reliable arm would be major for a team like the Twins that want to do well and go far in the postseason. Next, let's head up to Chicago and talk about an outfield player in Cody Bellinger. Cody Bellinger is having an okay season offensively. Defensively, he's always great. He's put up a 1.1 WAR. His OPS is around a .742, which is good for an OPS plus of 107. However, I personally do not believe that Cody Bellinger will be traded this offseason. I think his price is going to be too steep with that salary attached to him. I just believe that many teams will not be willing to take on that salary that he has promised. He has a player option next year, which will pay him out a good amount of money. And he's not performing at a level where a team's going to want to pay over $20 million a year for a player like Cody Bellinger. However, if he is traded, my prediction is that it will be an in-division trade, and the Cubs will trade him to the Pittsburgh Pirates. The Pittsburgh Pirates need an additional back, and they are weak in both center field and first base, both positions Cody Bellinger can play. If they do trade, I believe that they will be trading in division, which doesn't happen often, to the Pittsburgh Pirates, who could really use an outfield bat. Next, we're going to move to Miami and talk about Jazz Chisholm, ranked the most overrated player in baseball by executives and players. Jazz Chisholm is having an incredibly average season. He's put up a 1 WAR to a 727 OPS, which is good for a 100 OPS plus, which means he's exactly league average. However, we know what he can do and what he has done before. Jazz Chisholm has the ability to be a star. He just needs a little support. He struggles with veteran presence in the clubhouse that has come out a few times. And so I believe a team that is full of young talent that he can vibe with and enjoy would be really important. So I believe the Miami Marlins are going to be trading Jazz Chisholm to your Pittsburgh Pirates. Like I mentioned before, they have an incredibly weak outfield, and the GM of baseball said that they are going to be buyers at the deadline. They're fighting for that wild card spot, and they believe that behind their strong rotation, a few bats could mean a lot of things. So it is my belief that Jazz Chisholm will be traded to the Pittsburgh Pirates. Let's talk about one of the most underrated pitchers in baseball this season, a definite all-star snub, and let's move into Detroit and talk about Jack Flaherty. Jack Flaherty is putting on a great season. He has a 2.3 WAR to a 3.13 ERA and a 0.979 whip. He is striking at batters. He's looking like his old self we all thought he was going to be. I'm excited that Jack Flaherty has found what he was missing those last few years in St. Louis. And so it is my belief that the Tigers are going to trade him, get a good haul for him for a half a year rental. I believe the Detroit Tigers are going to trade Jack Flaherty to the Milwaukee Brewers. The Brewers have already picked up some pitching in Savali from the Rays earlier this month, but I believe they think with that lineup that if they bring in some solid rotation pieces, they can make a long push in the postseason. Jack Flaherty would look amazing in Milwaukee, and I think that the Milwaukee Brewers would make a smart move and pick up someone like Flaherty, who they aren't attached to after this year if they want to bring up some young arms. Jack Flaherty, you are going to Milwaukee. Now let's talk about another under-the-radar arm that people aren't talking about as much as they should be, and let's talk about Eric Fedde. Eric Fedde played in Korea last year. He went over there after struggling in the MLB, and he has turned things around. He has looked spectacular, under the radar, one of the better pitchers in all of baseball this year. He has put up a 4.4 WAR to a 2.99 ERA and a 1.132 whip. Yes, you would like that whip to be a little lower, but his ERA is spectacular. It is my belief that the Chicago White Sox will trade with a team that needs more rotation help, who wants to be competitive, and I believe the White Sox are going to trade Eric Fedde to the San Diego Padres. The Padres need back-end pitching. Musgrove and Darvish have been out for a majority of the season, and their pitching is struggling. They do not know how much longer they will be without Darvish and Musgrove, and because of that, they're going to look for cheap options. Fedde is only making $7.5 million this year and next, so AJ Preller is going to pull the trigger and pay probably more than he should to get Eric Fetty for the next year and a half. Let's talk about a player who has been surprisingly one of the best DHs in all of baseball this year. Let's talk about Brent Rooker. Brent Rooker is putting up a 9. I'm going to repeat that, a 942 OPS, which is good for a 169 OPS plus, which means he's hitting better than 69% of all hitters. However, he is not a defensive player. You will not get any value out of him in the outfield. However, he is a DH, and that's what you trade him for. He's a DH with pop, and I think a team that needs more pop in that DH position and somebody who is fighting to stay in the NL card spot is the St. Louis Cardinals. I think the Oakland Athletics will be trading Brent Rooker to the St. Louis Cardinals. The Cardinals currently need a DH with pop. Their OPS at that position is the 7th worst in all of baseball. Bring him over. He has years of control. Let him hit bombs and let that team show you what they truly can be. I'm excited to see him in the Cardinals uniform. Let's talk about a player now who is with his 9th team in his career. I think he's going to move to another team that's going to push for a postseason run. Let's talk about Tommy Pham. Tommy Pham is having a very average season. He's giving you a 706 OPS, which is good for a 102 OPS plus. So he's above league average, but not by much. However, you put him in the outfield and you can rely on him to be a reliable bat. He is not going to be below average, but he's not going to light up the world. He does, however, go through stretches where he is very good, and we saw him in the postseason do amazing things with the Diamondbacks. It is my belief that the White Sox will be trading Tommy Pham to the Atlanta Braves. Atlanta Braves have a weak left field, and Tommy Pham loves chasing World Series. I believe that his addition to the outfield could really help this Atlanta Braves solidify their spot in the postseason. Okay, let's go west to Orange County and look at the Los Angeles Angels. The Angels are a sad team to watch right now, but they do have a few bright spots, one of which being Tyler Anderson. Tyler Anderson is having a spectacular season, putting up a 2.97 ERA with a 1.169 whip. He is striking out batters at a lower number than you would like. However, he is making sure that people do not get on base. I think a team that would benefit greatly from Tyler Anderson is your Baltimore Orioles. I believe the Angels will be trading Tyler Anderson to the Orioles because they will be making a push for Garrett Crochet. However, with the White Sox not trading him, they will come to LA, Anaheim, and settle for Anderson, making that rotation stronger and making sure they solidify their position as the top dogs in the AL East. Let's finish our predictions with Tanner Scott of the Miami Marlins. I think Tanner Scott is having a spectacular season. He has put up a 1.34 ERA to a 1.066 whip. He is doing great things in his position right now. And I believe a team that could benefit greatly from bullpen help mentioned before is the San Diego Padres. I believe the Marlins will be trading Tanner Scott to the San Diego Padres, who currently need a 7th, 8th guy leading up to Robert Suarez. I believe if they solidify or strengthen that bullpen, they can make a solid push for that NL wildcard, which they are only a game out of at the moment. So those are my MLB trade deadline predictions. Which players I do not think are going to be moved, which players I do, and where they're going. Let me know who I missed, who you think I got wrong, or who you think I got right. Make sure to follow, comment, and like. It really does help, especially me trying to start and grow this channel. I'm excited to see who's traded and what happens over this next week. Have a wonderful day, guys.